are going to talk about enrolling the customers, adding activities and services, tracking attendance, and I have a new surprise for everybody, and track support services, document progress, and ending an activity. Again, to be able to access the tool, you can get there from the partner guide, or if you are part of other programs, you can access it from the Customer Support Center. We're now calling it IWIS, which is the Illinois workNet Information System, Illinois Workforce Information System, or you can access it from your partner tools. So here's just a little bit more detail. Here's the link for the partner page. I'm going to put that into the chat so that you have it again as a resource. All of our sessions from the TA sessions that we do on Tuesdays are there. You can get all sorts of info on the partner page. Now, what we covered the last time was we learned how to search for customers, add customers, assess customers, refer them, enroll them briefly, and we talked about the referral portion of the dashboard for the customers. And we discovered on Tuesday an issue with the dashboard. Thank you for pointing that out. And we will get that fixed. If it isn't already fixed, it will be fixed by tomorrow. And we'll get that pushed out to production. Now, when you enroll a customer, you will have already completed both of the assessments, the initial assessment and the needs assessment. You'll find the recommendations, and then when you click on a recommendation, you'll see the programs that are associated with that particular provider. Now, I'm assuming that you're all going to be enrolling them into your own program, but you may be offering SnapJP and Snap to Success and maybe EarnFair. I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but you may be doing something like that. And so you would pick the appropriate program for where you want to enroll this participant. You'd click the button and then you would mark the services. And by marking the services, that is the same thing as enrolling that customer into your program. We do recommend not taking action on any of those services until your reverse referral has been approved. When you add the activities, if the activity has already been added, you won't be able to add it again until the service has been completed. So for example, if you add employment and the person ends that first employment, you will be able to add the employment a second time. We have the IEP where everything will be tracked. Some of you may know it as the career plan. Some of you may know it as the ISS. Some of you may know it as the case management portion. Whatever it is, this is where you will manage the customer's activities. And so we have an overview page, we have assessments, we have goals that you can set up for that participant, and then we have the activities and services. The services will show that you have added from the recommendation page, and then you will be able to click the pencil and edit, start or end the services. Next, we get to track attendance. This is something that we created for ISETS, particularly so that we could have a tool that would fill in the 2606 Is that right, Andy? The 2606 or the 2610?
26.
I'm not actually the best on the numbers, but are you talking about the individual employment plan?
Or the attendance, for their participation attendance? Madeline, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say 2606.
Okay, all right. So whichever number it is for the activity attendance, this will fill in that form for you. So you have three options. You can go to a customer's profile, do individual attendance. The participant can log in and click the attendance on their Illinois workNet profile, select a service or an activity, and fill in their hours for the day. And I just found out, I just learned how to do it yesterday. You can now track group attendance. So if you're having a workshop, or if you're having seat time for an activity, you can actually track the whole group. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in today and show you how to do that. So we can enter time daily or weekly if we are tracking on the customer's profile, and you can use the attendance to track the hours for the 2606. So the other thing that you could do is track support services. And we have the ability for all providers who have access to that particular customer will be able to see the support services provided by either agency for that participant, and it will track total dollars so that the participant doesn't go over their allotted amounts for the support service. Donna asked the question, can you track attendance monthly? Yes, but you would have to do it on the customer's profile and do each week individually. We have a review summary tools where you'll see the dollar amounts and what percentage of the total is being spent. We have that on the overview page as well as in the summary tools. To document the progress for the customer, we have an activities case management on the overview page, and on the IEP itself, we have an overview for the IEP where you can see the activities and how those are working there as well. And then you can update each service by clicking on the blue, the highlighted, the hyperlink for that service. And ending activities is as simple as saying successfully completed, unsuccessful completion, evaluated, not required, or offered but declined. Those will end an activity and will allow you to add another activity. There was a question in the chat that I saw, what if they have 2 part-time jobs? We'll have to get an answer from Andy. That may take a little bit of time. I don't know if you're prepared to answer that today or not.
Sure. If I understand correctly, the question is, what if someone has 2 part-time jobs? And how do you enter that? Is that correct? Is that what you're asking?
Armand asked that question.
You would enter them both into the employment portion, and really the deciding factor is, I believe, once that income is budgeted, does it negate the need for SNAP benefits, or are they still eligible for SNAP benefits? Somebody can have a part-time job or multiple part-time jobs. If they're still eligible for SNAP benefits, they're still eligible for ENT services. but you would put, both part-time jobs in as employment.
So then, Andy, that begs the question for programming purposes. Do we need to allow employment to be added more than one time? Or would they add the 2 part-time jobs as the one employment feature?
I mean, you can add multiple employments at any time during the time that you're providing services, just like you can now, right? Like somebody can get a part-time job while you're in the middle of providing services. We would budget that income, and if it doesn't affect, their eligibility for the program, you just continue providing services for them, even if they do have a part-time job. You can enter them into the system at any time, and you can enter, as many employment incidents, I guess, as is relevant. You would just add them as you go along.
All right. Dashboard, we have the activities snapshot area where we have enrolled and active, and if they are engaged in training and education. So you can use this section and you either see the snapshot or the list view, and we'll show you that in the demonstration. Partner page resources, again, we have the link and we have the My Training. I still have some recordings to complete for the session that we're going to do in 2 weeks. I'm planning to get those up very shortly. And then last but not least, if you need to contact me, I do work from my home office, and there is my phone numbers and my email. So let's go to this is the live dashboard. So let's give you a look at this. It's showing the snapshot area, and then if we click on the list, we see numbers, and we are, as I said, in the process of fixing this so that everybody will see what you're supposed to see. And if I click on a number, it will yield a list with names where I can click on customer profiles. Now I'm going to go to test to do the balance of the demonstration. And I'm going to log in as a provider. And I was working on Angela Quick earlier today, and I was logged in another browser as DHS, so I approved her referral. So now I can actually begin the process of adding some services to her profile. So I'm going to go back to the intake and referral. I'm going to go to the recommended providers and services, and I'm going to click on my program, which I'm logged in as Asian Human Services. That's the partner I'm working as. And I have the Snap to Success program that is part of my grant that I would have received as a testing organization. I'm going to click this box that says enroll in program and activities. And down here, I have all of the programs and activities that are associated with my grant. Now, as a program manager for your organization, you do need to make sure that your programs are up to date. And I can show you that that was not part of today's session, but we may need to demonstrate that for you to make sure that your programs are all appropriately assigned. So I can select work experience because I'm going to offer some of that to this participant. In the assessment, I discovered that we didn't need basic education for this participant. She needs a few job skills training. She needs some job readiness. She needs supervised job search, and she needs employment. And when they have employment, they automatically are assigned job retention services. So those are the items that I'm going to assign to this participant, and I'm going to click add. You're able to select as many as are there, but I'm cherry picking for this demonstration. So the activities have been added to the IEP, and right now I can click this step 3 right here, go straight to the career plan, IEP, case management, and take a look at what we have in here. When we are looking in here, you click on this button and you see all of the services that you just added. If you need to add the support services, you would go up here to step 1, click on the add step or service, and then you can click any of the services that are associated with that program, with you as the provider. Those have been assigned to your organization. Now, say the participant needs some help with housing and utilities, and maybe they need some help with job search payments. We can add another service here. Maybe they need some domestic abuse counseling or referral to a housing and utilities support provider. So there are some referral opportunities in the list. There are support services in the list. And then there are also the services that are added, for example, the job skills training. So let's find one more support service here to add. I'm going to referral to personal hygiene services provider. So those items are up here, and until you edit them and assign them to a goal, they will remain up here. Now, some of you I know have worked with other programs that might be familiar with the way Illinois WorkNet handles activities and services, but for those of you who aren't, I will explain. On here under job readiness, we're going to click this pencil. This one was already assigned to a goal, which was complete program. You can assign every service to this one goal. You do not have to create any additional goals, but that is available for you. We will ask that you mark it as started or open. And then you need to put a planned start date. So since this customer was approved yesterday, we're going to start them off today. We have a SOC code available if it is something to do with a particular job. And when you click in for the SOC code, you can enter any, whoops, you got to spell it right. You can enter any term and it will give you a whole list of SOC codes from which you can select. And we're going to do this one. What's the plan due date? We're going to say this was job readiness. We're going to give it 3 weeks. Whoops. 3 weeks. We're going to say June 20th, they need to be done. How many hours a week are they going to participate in this activity? we say 10. We can put any other notes on here that we need to, and then we update the customer service. It creates the ability for you to write a case note. I suggest that you make the case notes something significant that if somebody reads it, they know what they're reading, and maybe not just added service. Maybe we added job retention service. And then you can copy that, paste it. Begins 5/26/22 and due to complete on 6/20/22. Now, one of the things that I have suggested to other people using this IEP is that if this is a standard item that you're doing, regular case note for a regular entry into the plan, take this title, copy it, pull up a new notepad, and you bring it over here and you title it standard case notes. Then you paste in here, you take the message and you go back to your notepad, you paste that message right below it. And then you can go through here. I tend to put some spaces between it, and then you do the next one. So if you use the same language on a regular basis, but maybe you just have to change the dates or a little detail, you've got the premise, the basis of it right there, and you can do that. And as Marlon just noted, they're going to do a case note training as well. So then when you're done, save as a case note without sending a message, or you can send a message. If the case note is significant, you can send a message to all of the partners who are associated with this customer. Add the case note. Now, once you've added the service, if you select the service provider for that participant, you have the ability to use the group attendance. So you do have to select a service provider. For the dollar value of the service, if it is a support service, we ask that you add that service cost. I'm just going to show you right here how you would do that. If there's a maximum dollar amount associated, you can enter that. What's it for? It's for, they're going to get a training, a certificate. So this is, we'll just put cost of state ID. It was a direct payment. The payment start date was today. It was $10. They get it one time, and it was paid by the grant, and it does not count toward any subsidized days. So we're going to save that. And it will show in here. I just had an Ajax error, so I apologize for that, but it will show in the table when that has been added to the system. Now, for the attendance, we have our weeks right here of the attendance associated with that activity. So Donna asked about entering a month at a time. The way that this would work, she could go in June and update the whole month all at one time, but she would have to do it week by week by week. So my suggestion to you is however you want to handle your business. I would do it week by week, just because then you know that it's in there. But say that this was Saturday and I click on this customer. Let me refresh here. Go back to the attendance, click on the week. I know that she showed up today at 9 a.m. We're going to send her out for lunch at 12. She's going to come back at 12:30, and then she's going to leave today at 4 p.m. And then we know that that's 7.5. Tomorrow she's not going to get her 10 hours in necessarily this week, but if she comes in from 9 to 12 tomorrow, that'll give her real close. And then required weekly hours, you can enter something there, and then you can save it. Now, if you save it, that just means that it's not verified. So if you as a case manager are entering the hours, you may not have the authority for your organization to verify it. Then the person that would need to come in and verify it would come, take a look, check it against whatever, and then submit and verify attendance. If you from your organization are entitled or enabled to verify attendance, then you could do this button the very first try. Do I need to repeat any of that?
I'll just add a scenario. This also applies if you're allowing your customers to go in and log in and add their own attendance,
Yes.
for things, or if you have an admin who is maybe in charge of your computer lab where people come in and do supervised job search and they sign in and sign out. If you have an admin who's going to enter this attendance, then you might have a case manager go through week by week or month by month and just look at the sign-ins, look at the attendance, and then verify that that's correct. Either the customer themselves would not have access to verify the attendance, or somebody in your organization, like an admin or an instructor, right, might put in the attendance, but then somebody, a case manager or a program manager in your organization might be required to verify that prior to putting in your monthly performance report or your staffing. Somebody would have to look at that, verify it, and then just check those off.
Yes.
Customers, reporting their own attendance and then being able to verify them, of course, not a best practice. So we need somebody from your organization to do that.
So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to log in as test, and
While you do that, Dee, we have another question that came up that's relevant, asking, can you also upload an attendance sheet?
you can upload an attendance sheet, but it won't track it in the system. It will only be backup for it.
Right, that would be like a PDF or a scanned document. You can upload it and attach it to somebody's file if you want to do that. But there's no way for the system to read the attendance sheet, parse it out, and then enter all of the attendance hours into those different fields. Somebody still has to enter that information. The computer isn't smart enough to read a scanned document and add the attendance there. Now, if you track attendance on like an Excel sheet and you would like to do a bulk upload, you know, I'm not sure if that's possible. We haven't tested that yet, but of course it's something that we can look at as a possibility or as an enhancement to the system.
So Donna said upload it as validation, and yes, that would be a good point of validation for comparison for a monitor to look at. So as a participant, I just logged in as Angela Quick or whatever my customer's name was. And I would go to the bottom down here and click on attendance. And then oh goodness gracious. And what it does then is it will give me the activity. It didn't like what I just entered, but I would pick the provider, which would be my Asian Human Services. I would pick the activity and it will give me a list of those activities. And then I would select today's date. I would enter hours for the selected date, just as the picture shows in the PDF. I apologize for this not working. I'm telling you, I just learned this yesterday and it worked yesterday, but I can't get it to work today. So I'm going to not waste any time on this. But this is where they would log in and do their attendance. They do have to be associated with a provider. So they can do this and then you would verify it. And then if they earn any credentials, you have the ability to add them here. It gives the credential name, what was the source, when did they attain it, what was the type of credential, where was the institution, what was the description. We're going to look up a SOC code again for whatever it is that they did. So maybe it was, maybe they got a retail sales certificate. So we search. And we got a first line supervisor and the SIP code, look up SIP code. So everything is look up for you. You don't have to know what they are. Retail management. And then you would save the credential. So that is how you manage the IEP. To end the activity, you would just go back to the status. And on the status, you would pick, did they successfully complete, unsuccessfully complete? SOC code stands for Standard Occupational Classification Code. If you added the service and they didn't need it after you've got to talking to them a little bit more, you could do evaluated, not required. And then if you offered it to them, but the participant declined, you could pick this option on here. So that's how you would end a service. And then if the service is ended, you would be able to add the service again if you found out that they needed additional activity in that service. Okay, next on my list. Okay, so we talked about adding the service. We talked about attendance. We talked about credentials. Now let's go and talk about the support services. So we're going to go back to the main IEP page. We're going to add activities and services. We're going to enter the housing, I'm sorry, we're going to enter the referral to personal hygiene services. And we're going to add it to that goal. We have started it. Whoops, we have started it. We have a start date of the 27th, a planned due date of the 31st, because this is going to be a quick one. We're going to do 1 hour a week. This particular customer is diabetic and needs a professional toe clipping so that they don't cut themselves and bleed. So this is going to be a professional, a medically necessary pedicure. So we're going to update the customer service. Save it as a case note, add the case note. We're going to add a dollar value of the service, add service cost, maximum allowed. I'm not sure what this total might be. I'm going to put it as $250 max. It is health related to healthcare. It is, let's say that it is medical exam. Payment type is direct payment. Payment start date is tomorrow. Individual payment cost is $25. Number of times at this cost, and paid by grant, and save. And I'm getting an Ajax error, so I apologize. That item would show in this table. So let me make sure that that is fixed so that in production, we don't have that issue. I'm going to grab this link and give that to my programmer. 1 second, please. All right. The next thing that we want to do is show you on the overview page for this customer. When we add support services, it's showing us that we have a $10 job readiness cost as 100% of the cost. On our referral to personal hygiene services, it's showing here, and it's showing me what my table was supposed to look like on the service page under the direct cost. So it's telling me that it's a direct payment, medical exam, $25, one time, total cost, payment date. So if you noticed, I had a $250 limit in there. I could add another service cost to this particular item, and it would deduct that from the total, and it would just ramp up the dollar amount. It would ramp up the dollar amount to $50 and show me what my total is going on a total basis at any given time. The other place where we can look for that is on the summary tools. We have the same kind of grid showing here, and it shows us when we look, if we click on that 100%, it shows us what the dollar cost is. We can go in and click edit at this point and edit the service. If I click on this one, it's giving me the details down here. If I click on it, I can edit the service so that at any given time, any partner who is associated with Angela Quick will be able to see those support services. So if I'm providing Angela with a support service and Kara is providing Angela with a support service, we see what the totals are overall so that we don't take Angela over her budget. A planned enhancement for this is to allow someone from DHS to approve an overage. Okay, so in the chat, we have, so for the support services, these are for items the participant might be referred to that would be covered under the S2S support services. Or will the finance team be able to pull this information for billing purposes? They would, for billing purposes, they would have to come to the profile and find that. We, at this moment, we can look at the billing on 2 weeks from now and see if we get it all pulled into one spot. But we're getting there. It is, the plan is to be able to pull it, but I would have your billing department keep track of it as well. I mean, they're going to be issuing the check, right? Or buying the gift card or the bus card. Okie doke. Okay, so one of the next things that we want to talk about is on the customer forms. We have a drop down here for the 2610 activity report. If we're going to be doing our attendance, this activity report, what month are we in? We're in May. At the end of the month, this will pull the hours of activity for the system. And then it will save it and have all of the activity for this participant by activity. So right now I only have the hours in here for job readiness, but if we did other activities, each activity would be included. And we'll go over this again in the billing and reporting section in 2 weeks. I just wanted to show you here quickly. One of the things that we are going to do, this has not been pushed to production yet, but it will be there. We are, based on the referrals that are coming out, we will have a primary ENT provider listed here. We'll have a secondary ENT provider listed. So if you make, as a provider, a referral to another provider, it will be listed. And it will have the DHS office that either referred the person or is being referred to for the reverse referral. And then we'll have the program enrollment in which the participant is enrolled. On the overview page for that participant, if you are looking at the attendance, you can update activity here for the attendance as well. So what was the activity we picked? This is how it's supposed to look on the customer side. They'll be able to pick their activity. So we did job readiness. We're going to search. And it will take me to that activity. I apologize for getting these Ajax errors, but it would take us to that activity so that we could update the time for that activity. And then again, we already talked about the support services. All right. Next time, we're going to talk about employment and verification, but you can find all of that information in your overview page as well. Credentials, we talked about credentials on the IEP. You can add a credential here. It has the same information that we added previously from the service. The goal is, if you add it on the service, that it will add it to this table as well. so that you only have to add it one time. What kind of other questions do we have for the IEP case management?
Hi, this is Leslie from Phalanx. I had a quick question. I had entered one of my clients into the system and it was active yesterday, and I looked at it this morning and it said exit. So does that mean, what does that mean? That the status is in an exit mode now?
I'm not sure. I would have to see the customer, and since we're recording this, I don't want you to give me any
Details. Okay.
PII information.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any questions about getting someone enrolled? Adding the service? Questions about the intake? Any questions about adding customers from last week? All right, Marlon, would you like to move on?
We could do that. So just to be clear, are there any like final thoughts, questions from providers, just to be sure? I know that was a lot of information to process, so I'm going to allow a minute or two before I go ahead and stop the recording and open it up. I want to acknowledge there's cameras off, but if you're ready to move on, give me a thumbs up or put it in the chat so that I can stop the recording and we can open this up for more of a dialogue. Thank you, Armand. All right, Missy, perfect. It seems like most people are good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.